Hi, folks, and welcome to A More Civilized Age. I'm Matt. With me is Dylan, who, when I texted him and asked him if he wanted to be on the show, he said unenthusiastically, sure. Like,
You
I
texted
have
me.
nothing better to do today,
You
so
texted
I
me.
guess I'll do it.
You texted me at 5 in the morning my time.
Oh, I forgot there's a 2-hour difference. Okay. Sorry about that. You weren't up at 5? Lazy.
No, I get up at 6 usually.
Not today. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, though, glad to have you. Chris couldn't make it. Brian couldn't make it. Ryan is running late, but we wanted to get the ball running here because we have a lot of topics. Now, it's kind of funny because in October, I did a poll on my YouTube channel asking if you would like me to expand the topics for a more civilized age. And instead of just rotate around Star Wars. And over a big majority said, yes, open up the topics. So originally December was we were going to open up topics, but there's so many things to talk about in the EU this month that we're going to talk all EU. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. But we've been running this show for a couple of years now. And we've talked about a lot of topics. Not to say we can't revisit a topic, but we talked about a lot of topics. And there's not much, usually there's not much this much news coming out at one time. But there happens to be a lot of news coming out. So it's all going to be about the EU tonight or today or whenever I post this on my channel. First off, Dylan, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
There's a few things I want to talk about. One was I was reading some fan fiction the other day. And in the fan fiction, they had the ghost of Obi-Wan come back and the ghost of Yoda come back, and give advice to Luke Skywalker and stuff like this. And I was thinking, it's nice to see them there, but we didn't really see many Force ghosts in the novels. And they didn't really do that with, because thinking back, why didn't the authors use Force Ghost Obi-Wan to always talk to Luke Skywalker? It didn't happen that much. It happened for like a page in Timothy Zahn's book. Yeah. It happened a little bit in Truce of Bakura, but they didn't overuse it. And they never showed Ghost Yoda. And thinking back on it, wow, I don't know why they didn't do it unless they were told by George, no ghost. Don't do the ghost thing.
See, they might have been, because when I'm thinking about it, that Timothy Zahn scene that everyone remembers when Obi-Wan comes to him, Obi-Wan like flat out says, "I'm becoming. This is like the last time I'm going to be able to do this." He
appeared to him in his dream, right?
Yeah, and this is like the last time, and
this is the last time I can't come to you again.
So I was gonna say, well, it's Zahn's fault because he put it in there that, oh, this is the last time, and then everyone that wrote a book that happened chronologically after that was like, well, I can't use Force Ghosts, so I just have to come up with another way of doing that. But I don't know. Maybe it was.
But think about it. Think about it. Mara Jade doesn't come back as a Force Ghost to talk to Luke. How tempting would that have been? They have to go another way to get him to talk to Mara for a little bit.
Oh yeah, with the.
Why couldn't she appear as a Force Ghost and talk to Luke? And here's what I think. I think Force Ghosts cheapen a character's death. And I think maybe they didn't want to do it that way because they felt that that was a cheap way to bring the character back after their death.
I agree with that.
And the thing is, I'm not complaining that there weren't that many. In the comic books, it seems like there was way more Force Ghosts than there were in the novels. But I'm happy about that. I'm happy they avoided the temptation of constantly bringing back Yoda to give him advice. Because who wouldn't want to write Obi-Wan and Yoda all the time, giving Luke advice, helping him out, along the way. But they didn't. They went for whatever reason. Either they couldn't. But see, the thing is, why would George not allow them to do it in the novels, but he was allowing them to do it in the comic books at that time? The heyday of the EU, Dark Horse is making Force Ghost.
I guess different characters, because the one Force Ghost that shows up in the comics the most, I think, is Luke in the Legacy comics. And I think that was just more of a running gag of the interactions between Luke and Cade that they were just able to get away with.
Maybe I didn't see it as a running gag. I saw it as a trying to connect it to the original characters, and it was fine. I didn't have a problem with that. But at the same time,
I didn't either.
Why wasn't everyone doing that? They never, and I'm happy with this. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, wow, they did not go the Force Ghost route when someone died, like Anakin Solo. Why not make him a Force Ghost and have him coming back to talk to Tahiri and stuff? They didn't do it. Bravo. I'm really happy they avoided it because I would love to ask this question now because I think it cheapens the character's death. Because the Jedi died. Don't worry, he'll be coming back for the next 6 years as a Force Ghost.
Yes, I'm trying to remember. So, but it was so when they brought the characters back, it was always like kind of vague notions. Like I remember, I think it was New Jedi Order Traitor that Anakin comes back to Jason, but it's kind of ambiguous if it was actually Anakin or just like his hallucination of Anakin or whatnot. Similar thing, Mara came back a little bit at her funeral, but she didn't really say anything. It was just kind of like an appearance. And I think they also alluded to Mara and Luke having a talk at the end of Revelation. But it was off screen, I believe. Like it was like someone was like
well, I know on the ship when he was traveling around through space following Jason's path, he could feel Mara's presence.
Yes.
And it was a calming presence, calming. And he was, or that he touched her presence and he felt calm or something. But she didn't appear. She didn't start saying, Luke, let's talk about our good old boy Ben in the good old days. And I still love you. Here's the pep talk, which is what you probably, and fans would have gone crazy. Not me, but fans of Marjorie would go, oh, she's back as a ghost. And everyone would have, and Anakin fans would have loved that too. But I think as I was reading through these novels, I realized they didn't really use Force Ghosts that much. And I like that. But I've never thought about this before because it would be so tempting to write those characters back in as Force Ghosts. Right?
Yeah. And again, the closest we got to this, and I didn't like it when it happened, was in kind of spoilers for Fate of the Jedi, but with the Lake of Apparitions that Luke goes to at different points in that series when like characters come back and talk to him. But that's the only instance I can think of that it happened, and
that's a reference from West End Games. So that was like, oh wow. They took that from West End Games, but they didn't use Force Ghosts. They used different methods that were already existed in the continuity. That's brilliant, and I've never really thought of it before until during my reread I started realizing it because fan fiction, Force Ghosts are everywhere. Because you want to keep writing your favorite characters, even though they're dead. Keep writing them. Jason could have appeared as a Force Ghost, an evil Force. Who knows? Like Exar Kun. He honestly, that would have made sense too, right? He studied the Force, all aspects of the Force. He probably can find a way to save his spirit, just like Exar Kun did. And now he's kind of walking around as a spirit, maybe still causing trouble, or maybe he's good now and appearing and helping Jaina. But they didn't go that route. Bravo, really, bravo. That's just, I just never thought about that, and I've never thought to ask any author why they didn't do it. But when I read that fan fiction and they had Force Ghost galore, and I started thinking, the EU didn't do this. And I'm glad they didn't because it cheapens a character's death.
It must have been internal. It must have been somewhere either from George or from Delbury or Lucas licensing that they had this hard rule of the editors, maybe they were cutting it out and saying you can't use Force. It must have been something because
but that rule didn't apply to comic books because Tales of the Jedi was doing it. Later
That's why
on,
I said maybe it was
X-Wing Rogue Squadron. The comic book did it in a terrible way too. But the thing is, though, the comic books true. George could have said okay with that, or he didn't care. Or you're right, maybe Bantam and Del Rey went, no, we're going to avoid the Force Ghost things. Meanwhile, Dark Horse is like, yeah, characters never die. So it had to be someone's, either the writer's decision, or you're right, the editor's decision, or the publisher's decision. Whoever it was, though, that was a good call. That was a great call. And I'm just now seeing that.
I came to this realization a while ago but it's kind of on topic. I realized that Darth Ndedu, the one Sith Lord, has appeared. All of his appearances are when he's already been dead. We haven't actually gotten his backstory, what he did while he was alive. Every single story he's in, he's always just been the Force Ghost, the evil Force Ghost.
True, true, true. But yeah, so there you go. So that was, and to be honest, when I was first writing out topics for December, a long time ago, this was the only topic I had. But suddenly, so many topics popped up. There's a new wave of essential.
Okay, do we want to talk about the cover releases first, or the
Oh,
new wave
please. I want to talk about one in particular. You know which one. Did I not make a joke on one of these? I don't know which one it was, but when the last wave got announced, we were kind of speculating what would be next. And I said, oh, it's got to be Dawn of the Jedi. And we all laughed. And yet it's known as an essential. My question to you is Dawn of the Jedi, is Ruins of Dantooine getting the next reprint? Is Crystal Star after that? What and I'm trying to think, because we can figure out, there's supposed to be an X-Wing series coming out, so they did the X-Wing books. There's been, Timothy Zahn writes for the new canon, so they did Timothy Zahn's books. Sith are real big, Darth Bane trilogy really big, so they did the Darth Bane books. And I mean, Shatterpoint, I didn't understand, but they brought it out, and that's fine because it got its own, unabridged audio. Why choose Dawn of the Jedi? Why?
I don't know.
There's no reason they can't cross promote anything. There's nothing else being promoted even remotely like that. Plus, I will say this, at least do you have the cover? Did you pull up the cover?
I'm looking for them right now.
Okay. While you're pulling up the cover, at least the cover matches the quality of the writing inside. That's all I have to say. That's all. And to the 14-year-old girl who sketched that out on her notepad during history class, bravo. You got to print, honey. Good job. That's one of the, I mean, I'm not really a fan of any of these covers. There was someone, channel I watched, they did a comparison, the original versus the new version, which one's better? And even though I enjoyed the conversation, my question the whole time was, is the Essentials collection covers ever better than the original? I don't think so. Okay, so you got them. So here we go. I mean, again, and wait. Here's our other guy. He's traveling. He's got to get on the move. He's got to be on the move here.
I'm always working, got to get on the move, and everything went wrong. I was supposed to be home already, but it didn't work. But the show does not stop. The show never ends. A More Civilized Age must go on, even from the car. What's going on, guys?
Not much. We're talking about the new covers for the Essential Legends collection of Yoda Dark Rendezvous, Republic Commando Hard Contact, and the most essential Star Wars story to ever be written, Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void.
I can't believe they even did that one, to be honest with you.
My question, though, Ryan, what is it usually like for Yoda? There's Baby Yoda coming out, so I get it. They put it, or people love Yoda, I get it. Hard Contact, they've been reprinting all of Karen Travis's books. That's fine. I get Clone Wars is still going, still popular. But what was the purpose? What are they trying to cross promote? Why Dawn of the Jedi? And plus that cover. Again, go on the Dawn of the Jedi cover, please. One more time.
Oh, that looks, well, I'll tell you what, it looks like High Republic. That's what it looks like.
Oh, I forgot.
To be honest with you.
Is High Republic still going?
Yes, it is. They actually just released another. I saw this tangentially, but they released another cover that looked very similar to what a Sword of the Jedi cover would have looked like, and that was the only thing I can think about when I saw that cover. Don't know anything about the book, or Ryan probably knows what I'm talking about.
Are you talking about the one with the girl with the two purple lightsabers?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I'll be real. I've been pretty checked out on High Republic Phase 2 or whatever they're rolling out because most people were checked out on Phase 1. But it is still going on. I have not seen any kind of sales numbers or anything recently. I can't imagine it's doing like crazy. But it is still continuing on, and I know there's some people who like it out there. There's some people that defend it to high heaven. So if they're loving it, that's great for them. I wish we were getting stories that we could enjoy like that. But yeah, that's what this reminds me of, is High Republic, this type of art style on this cover. Dawn of the Jedi is just such a, even for us hardcore EU people, it was just a slog to get through. And I just don't know who's going to pick that up with what they've published. I guess I'll say this, with what they've published of the Essential Legends collection, like, I think the only Old Republic stuff they have technically is the Darth Bane.
They had Old Republic Revan and Deceived a
wave
ago.
Yeah. Well, then I guess they have at least that, something to rely on.
Well, the thing is, and I get why they did those too, because those are, related to the very still popular video game, and I get it, but why on earth?
So
why on earth would they do this? Is it say, hey, if you thought the High Republic was bad, check out Dawn of the Jedi. It's just as bad.
So we'll get into this more with the more recent links, but a couple waves ago, I had a theory that was, if the Essential Legends collection isn't what we all think it is, and it's just going to be like a quick cash grab of all like the biggest, most marketable books, and then they're not going to reprint everything, right? If they're actually going to go to the effort to reprint and redo the covers for everything, how do you get people to be excited to go to the bookstore to pick up Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void? You package it with Hard Contact and you go to Dark Rendezvous. How do you get people excited to go to the bookstore to pick up Ruins of Dantooine? You package it with, I don't know, like Vector Prime and something else, If they were going to do everything, then the way to put out these books would be to put it in waves with other stuff, just to kind of get people to want to go out to the store, and maybe they'll pick this up, right? That's the only way I can see that they would put these books in these waves, especially these waves so early, is if they did actually intend to do everything, and this was the only way that they could actually get people to maybe go out to the bookstore to buy these books. But that's still I'm still not convinced, even with the recent leaks of the next wave, that they're actually going to release everything. So I don't know why. Unless that's the plan, I don't know why.
I mean, go ahead, Ryan.
At this point, I think they're pretty just committed to releasing whatever. I don't know what these books are doing numbers wise. I haven't seen hardly anybody ever talking about them or anything like that. So I just don't know how effective they're selling. At least after, the first couple waves where people were pretty excited for them. But that at least is a pretty cool cover, I will say, for Hard Contact.
Yeah, I think it's the best one because it's.
Well, I mean, by default, because
it's original. It's original
photo.
Art. Yeah, it's original art. It's not just taking a promotional photo from Revenge of the Sith and doing some cool editing with Photoshop with it. It's I could someone somewhat competently drew this, right? I mean, it looks kind of similar to some AI art I've seen. I'm not accusing them of using AI art, but it is something that I could see someone drawing, and it does look, out of the three, the best. Even though I do have some problems with it, like the Republic Commandos don't look Star Wars-y enough for me. It looks more of like a horror sci-fi novel than it does a Star Wars novel, just from how the troopers themselves look. I mean, the Lardy just looks pretty good, and I believe the planet that Hard Contact takes place on is a forest planet, so they got that down. I guess it's doing the X-Wing thing of it's actually showing a scene that would have been in the book.
Right. Yeah, that's what I like about it.
But again, what we were talking about earlier was the cover for Dawn of the Jedi. I mean, you want a cover that catches people's eye, and like the other two, for a fact, I see a big picture of Yoda with the lightsaber. I'm a Star Wars fan. I turn and look. Again, the hard contact one, I agree, not a bad photo. I turn and look at it. But I would walk right by and not even dare pick up a Dawn of the Jedi, thinking that maybe that's not Dawn of the Jedi. That's just some girl's diary that just got lost at Books A Million.
I think they're hoping that people laugh at it, and that catches their attention. That's the only reasonable answer.
Maybe so. And Dylan, I do have another. I want to share this. I'm going to remove this just a minute. I do have the alternate cover for Dawn of the Jedi. Because I looked to say surely that wasn't their only choice. Surely there were other things that they were looking at. Hold on, let me see. Where is it? I just had it pulled up. I lost it.
Even the original Dawn of the Jedi cover, it's nothing to write home about, but it's way more. I mean, it looks way better than that. That art just looks terrible.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So another thing, while you're pulling that up, that's very important about this wave. Del Rey have not officially confirmed if we are getting unabridged audiobooks for Yoda Dark Rendezvous and Hard Contact, which both don't have unabridged audiobooks. And I know for a lot of people especially, they were really looking forward to unabridged audiobooks of Republic Commando. That has yet to be confirmed that it's happening. So that is incredibly concerning, at least from my eyes. As the unabridged audiobooks,
here's the new Dawn of the Jedi cover they thought about doing.
It looks better.
I'm telling you. Lots of lightsabers on it. People using lightsabers. I think the kid was 4. You know, I mean, Del Rey really saved money on this, but it's not about the art. It's about the story inside. I just hate that they're bringing out something called the Essential Legends Collection, and for the most part, all these covers suck. They suck.
There's been a lot of bad ones, you know. I think a lot of them you can call low effort. You know, when you look at that Yoda one, when you look at the Mace Windu one, those are very low effort, but at least those look fine. You know what I mean? It is just
but the original covers look better.
Oh, 100% the original covers look better. But what I'm saying is, like, at least those for people that, like, don't know what's going on, like, that is, hey, this is a book about Mace Windu. This is a book about Yoda. Okay, cool. And, like, it at least looks good. Some of them, was it Path of Destruction that was just awful?
Yeah. Ugh. And I didn't like that style. I appreciated that they actually kept a consistent art style throughout all 3 books, which didn't exist in the first one. But even still, you could just like the only covers that look in any way somewhat good, and that's because I think they have a theme and they theme to them were the X-Wing books. Like, I don't think that's the best way you could have done covers for the X-Wing books, but at least they're distinct and they have a pretty like eye-appealing style to them. That's the only one that I looked at and went, yeah, I could see that on my bookshelf. They're not as good as the original covers, but if those were the original covers, they wouldn't stand out as being all that different from what already came.
Here's what I know. You're calling the Essential Collection. You're making it paperback, so you're saving money. Instead of making it hardback, you're doing paperback. You're not having to pay an author to write a story. They're just getting a cut of the sales. Okay. So spend some money and get some good artists and give us some blown away covers. Give us something that catches your eye. Dave Dorman told me the reason he gets hired is so that you won't pass up his comic book at the comic store. You'll look and go, what is that? Because it has an awesome cover. Who did not look at Crimson Empire and go, oh, I don't want that? Yeah, you want that because it's such an awesome opening cover with all the Crimson Guard with the Imperial signet behind it, everything in flames. You're like, I don't know what this is about, but sold. The cover is a big selling point here. But here it seems like it's like minimum effort for all of this. And it's a shame because I like the idea of reprinting them as the Essentials collection. That's a great idea. Introduce it to more people. But goodness gracious, have some pride in your reprint. Don't give us crappy covers like the one from Dawn of the Jedi. And don't give us Dawn of the Jedi. Hey, folks, the next wave is going to have Ruins of Dantooine in it, just to let you know.
Crystal Star.
Crystal Star. That was the other one I said, too. Yeah.
So
All right.
update on the audiobooks. I'm actually on the Star Wars Books Twitter page. Several
Oh,
people have asked, will they get new audiobooks?
there you
And
go.
they are saying not at the moment, but the future is uncertain. And they've replied to that on several people who have asked that thing. So
That's
So
odd.
no.
so yeah, no, unless something happens, no.
That's a
Which
shame
tells
because that
me
was
that tells me that people aren't buying them when they're coming out. You know.
well, that would have been true for wasn't Stover's audiobook doing good? Dylan, didn't you follow the sales on that for a little while?
The first wave did pretty well. Yeah.
The ones
Uh,
that have not come out unabridged do really well. They haven't
but
come out unabridged
that's
before.
all of them. But
Oh,
again,
really?
people were
Okay.
really excited for Hard Contact audiobook because as much as I think, well, Matt and I don't really like the Republic Commando series, but it does have a very dedicated fan base to it, despite
Does.
all the controversy, and they were very excited that. So I think that's a huge missed opportunity. But Ryan, I don't know if you know about this, but we've actually gotten leaks for the next wave.
What's it going to be?
So, obvious one, Republic Commando 000,
Yes.
Outbound Flight by Timothy Zahn,
Okay.
Survivor's Quest by Timothy Zahn, Old Republic Fatal Alliance.
I mean, Old Republic Fatal Alliance makes sense, even though that's the worst book.
It is.
But it makes sense because of what they released previously. 2 Zahn books.
Yeah, right.
That is strange.
Like Outbound Flight, I guess makes sense, especially with how marketable of a character Thrawn is.
I
like,
get Outbound
his
Flight,
backstory.
yeah.
I get that. Survivor's Quest is an interesting one, and again,
Yeah.
why 2 Zahn books
The
in
same
this,
wave.
Yeah, in the same wave again. And
I
Republic
mean, why
Commando,
not?
obviously, they've done.
Why not go back to Matthew Stover's Shadows of Minor? I mean, not that that's the best one. I'm just saying, why not just mix it up again? I don't know.
Or some of the other Bantam authors, like
Yeah.
Kevin J. Anderson. We're 8 waves in, and we haven't gotten one of his books.
I'd love it. I'd love it personally. Okay, so there you have it. There's what I think about that. Next topic. Man, there's a lot of topics here to cover. Jason Fry and Pablo Hidalgo, 2 people I used to respect. Have you seen it? Have you seen this before? Did you see this? It was the news a couple of weeks ago. They were talking about how the new canon is kind of unmanageable, so they're shortening the lore of Star Wars to just 5,000 years, because they were just talking about how unmanageable it all can be because there's so much of it. And I'm thinking, you never had this problem for 35 years, and you did a pretty good job with continuity. And then Jason Fry and Pablo, 2 people who should know better, because they've handled a lot in source books and knowledge like that, back knowledge. Jason Fry wrote an amazing guide to warfare, which is excellent. Do you know about this story?
No, I don't.
Okay. It was in a couple of weeks ago. A few people were picking it up, and I looked at it, I was like, what are they saying here? They just don't care. The story group is like, you know what? We all lied to you at the beginning. We said we're going to keep one. Remember, they said, we need to do this, guys. Keep it in one continuity. We have to do this. It's going to be one. The books, the comic books, everything's going to be on the same level with the movies and TV shows. And that could be anywhere far. It couldn't be farther from the truth, right? Because now it's all. It suddenly started switching a few years ago, and when I think it was Matt Martin started the conversation, it's like, guys, who cares? Who cares if it doesn't fit? It's okay. It's just love Star Wars. Nothing has to make sense. I'm like, go ahead.
In reality, Matt, like it started from the beginning when Bob Iger stood there and talked about all the characters and all the planets and all those things that they were like so excited for. When George sat there with Kathleen Kennedy at that table and said, I'm handing this over to Kathy. She's going to take care of it. We got a treasure trove of stories. We got all, and of course, all the books and comics and everything. Like, these are the things that were uttered, when this takeover happened, when Star Wars was sold. And all that they've done since then is just continuously break their word whenever it's convenient for them, whenever they need to reboot something, whenever they need to put something else out, whenever they need to retcon something. And it's become pathetic. And I think even for people that aren't us, right, even for people that aren't keeping up with it, it has to feel shitty It has to feel really shitty to have put your time and money into something, and then for them to tell you, hey, this matters, until it doesn't. Now, we dealt with that. We dealt with 30 years of them throwing that stuff out. That's not necessarily what people are dealing with now fan wise, but it's just low effort. That's what it
Yeah.
feels like from anyone involved with storytelling at Star Wars.
Right. And I have a friend, and I should try to see if he wants to get on. He was not a fan of the expanded universe after a while. He thought it got too bloated, too big, too crazy. He was a Timothy Zahn ride or die fan. He didn't like anything else but Timothy Zahn. But he was fair in saying that, because he applauded the EU being destroyed, and he was looking, and he told me he's looking forward. He said, Matt, you're missing out, because watch, Lucas, he was drinking the Kool-Aid. He said, Lucasfilm is going to give us what we always wanted now, a one big continuity. We don't have to worry about George Lucas wrecking it with his prequels now. They're going to be in line. Everything's going to be there. And I think it was just a year or so in, he called, he said, because I said, dude, I don't think that's how it's going to be. I think there's going to be massive contradictions. They're just lying to us. And he called me, it was about a year or two later, and said, you're right, I'm out. I mean, because already he was seeing massive contradictions. And Lucasfilm basically at the time were just shrugging their shoulders going, meh, we don't care. We don't care. We just fed you that line at the beginning because, we knew there'd be a lot of people upset and wanted to get you excited. It's like, I forgot that they did this, but someone reminded me that back before when episode 7 was announced, remember when they did those auditions all around the world? Anyone, even without acting ability, could show up and audition at one of the several auditioning tours they did around the country. Do y'all remember this?
This I don't directly, but something like this sounds familiar.
It was a giant PR stunt because everyone, I remember a bunch of my friends said, we're going to wherever the nearest one was to audition to be in Star Wars. I was like, why would they make an open audition like that? And they didn't pick anyone from those open auditions. That was just a little ground roots thing to get people excited, saying, hey, I auditioned for the new Star Wars movie. They said I was really good. And, you're not going to get it, but you watch the movie anyway or whatnot. It was just like some big PR stunt, and it didn't serve any purpose but to stir the fans. And this is the same thing. When they got rid of the EU and started talking about how great the new stuff is going to be, they had no plan. We know that now. They didn't really care. They were just trying to sell you something. And now no one's believing them. That's why I think Ryan has made 1 or 2 videos about, people turning away from Disney movies. I think he has. But stuff like that is true because I think people have wisened up and said, oh, you know what? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm not going to go back and watch this. That's why you're seeing box office drops for a lot of these movies because people are tired of being lied to, promised a bill of goods and not getting delivered. Speaking of, I want to shift over because I'm moving over to this last topic anyway. It was a big one. Bob Iger has returned.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
And yeah, but is it true? Because I don't know if you did a video on this. You may have, but about you did about Chapek cooking the books, maybe.
That's a report that's out there. That's a report that's out there.
But no one really knows, right?
No one really knows, and I don't even I don't think cooking the books is necessarily the right way to put it. I think because what he's being alleged of doing is trying to make it look like the streaming services don't have necessarily as much loss as they do, even though they reported $1.5 billion in losses just in the last quarter, which is crazy. What is alleged to be happening was for some of these things, say like Andor, that get aired on somewhere outside of Disney Plus, and a couple other things that they've done that were originally Disney Plus originals, that if they aired on say ABC or Freeform or whatever, even if it's just for like a weekend, to try to entice people for Disney Plus, then maybe there's a potential that they're using that and writing that off against the network as opposed to the streaming service, which I don't know all the legalities surrounding it. It didn't make it sound like it was illegal, but it just made it sound like kind of maybe a little bit tricking people in terms of where that money was going.
I have a feeling because they were supposed to be projecting upcoming profits and less loss. And so
Yeah.
the projections were going in the exact opposite direction. Plus, you nailed it on one of your videos, the stock plummeting. I mean, that nothing gets investors antsy and board members upset than watching their stock plummet, because that's their investment. That's hundreds of millions of dollars they lost.
There's so much going on for Disney right now, and it's not just one thing, right? It's not just people a little bit disappointed in Star Wars. It's not just people a little bit tired of Marvel. It's everything combined with COVID, combined with the global economy, combined with localized United States inflation. When you had these parks that were shut down for a while, they had a big cash flow problem. You got disappointments in the box office, not just from Marvel, but everything. Animation, the last couple animated movies have lost hundreds of millions of dollars for Disney. This is not something anybody's been used to. Of course, that goes right in line with them deciding to go to war with the state of Florida over the parental rights and education bill. It seems like a lot of families didn't take too kindly to that. But it's this culmination of issues. I said it multiple times, I think Bob Iger knew exactly what was going to happen with Disney. I think he knew what was going on with COVID, and I think that's why it was so sudden. He stepped out because he knew it would be bad across the board, and he was ready to come back in.
Absolutely. Him and Eric Schmidt, and I want to say Jeff Bezos, knew it was coming, left while their stocks were high, where profits were high, where they got the biggest check back off their retirement or whatever, and checked out while the money was big, let the companies fall. And then, Bob Iger comes back as the savior to mankind. I've read Bob Iger's autobiography that he came out with right as he was retiring, because I wanted to read about it, because I wanted to read about the man, because regardless of what you think about him, he did some amazing things. He's obviously got away with people because he smooth talked and got Marvel and got that. He knew what to buy to start making things profitable. I have a feeling, reading his book, that the purchase of Lucasfilm, even though he doesn't say this in his book, I believe it came with the promise that Kathy Kennedy would stay in control of Lucasfilm, get to run her own ship. Because Bob Iger, he talks about looking at each Marvel movie and back in the day when he was in charge and critiquing it and asking for a little bit of the, he'd kind of mess with it and give some demands. But he never did that with the Star Wars movie. He said he entrusted Kathleen Kennedy to do that job because she's been a long-time producer. But for someone who has been admitted that every big thing that rolls out, movie-wise and TV, he makes sure to look at it and give his pointers and make some changes on it. But he doesn't do that for Star Wars. I think that was part of the, handshake agreement with George to say, hey, also Kathleen gets to leave on her terms, which is why you hear a billion rumors. Oh, did you hear the new rumor? She's out at Lucasfilm. I'm not going to believe this. I'm not going to believe this. I don't think she'll get fired. If she does eventually leave, it's going to be because she wants to retire. But again, we're dealing with the rumor. Just because Bob Iger's in and a few people got chopped off, everyone wants to point, and rumors are flying again about Kathleen Kennedy. How probable is it that they're going to fire Kathleen Kennedy?
She's going to leave whenever she's ready to leave, which is probably going to be, as we've been saying for a long time, after Indy 5. That's what makes sense. And it's not like she's 55 years old. She's old. She's like 70, at some point she's been there for a decade now. In 2022, she'll have been there for a decade,
Wow. That's
so
wild to think about. That's true. So, yeah, so she's going to fade out and tell us that too, as she says, fade in. The other thing is, I don't see Bob Iger. He's looking at writing the ship. There's a bunch of speculation. I talked to a Disney fan, just a Disney World fan. I said, does Bob Iger, she hates Bob Chapek. She hated Chapek and she's just looking at, she didn't care about Star Wars. She didn't care about really Marvel that much. All she cares about is her wonderful Disney World, which is garbage now, she says. She says I haven't been in a couple of years, but she said the service is terrible. My sister went this past year and said service was pretty shoddy. Like in her day, everyone who was working there would have been fired.
Yeah.
Like, man, it wasn't like they were rude, but they were on their phones in public. She said they were talking about customers, and I could hear. She said that kind of stuff never, that would have gotten you fired from Disney World, my sister said. And she said she was just shocked at some of the stuff, cast members just kind of sitting around, not doing anything. She went, no, there was always something you had to be doing. You had to be doing something. But it was like, she said it was really weird. And she asked the cast member for help. She went, that's not my department, but, I'll find, you go talk to so-and-so or whatever. Like, that would never happen. You go to that department, you help them out. So she was just really shocked with the level of service.
People at the parks, like hardcore park people, have been talking about that for a while. That it's gone so downhill, and the price is so high.
Yeah, the price is so high. Now, Bob Iger did say he needed to do something about that. But get this. See if you agree about this. My sister thinks it's their diversity hiring that is hurting it. Instead of going for qualified people, they're trying to diversify, check those boxes and hire these type of people. And those people don't have the attitude to work, the correct attitude or mindset to work at Disney. Instead of hiring the best customer service people.
Anytime you go out to check boxes, it's going to be a net negative for you. Anytime you go out and you're not interested in finding the best person for the job, regardless of their skin color, sexuality, or gender, or whatever, it's going to hurt your company. Obviously, we've seen that pretty hardcore with Disney. I don't know. As someone who's just not as, I just don't go to Disney parks. You know what I mean? So I'm not as familiar with that stuff as a lot of other people are, customer service wise.
Okay, is that something I asked Drunk 3PO?
Maybe he might have a better idea.
I know he has a better perspective on that.
He's got his ear to the ground when it comes to the theme parks for sure.
I'm telling you, that guy's a theme park maniac.
He is. He's a Disney park. Well, no, he's not Disney. He's just a park person. You know what I mean?
A park person. If I ever plan on making another trip, I'm gonna have him sign my Disney autograph book.
There you go. Yeah, you gotta have him do it. I'm sure you'd love to do that.
I would. I'm not kidding. I would do that too. I'd say, "Can I take a picture, sir? Can you autograph my Disney book? Thank you so much."
You gonna ask me at all, or
say what? I would ask you. Yes, of course. Well, I mean, probably sign on the back page just in case some other cast member sees it and kicks me out.
Yeah, they're probably not huge fans of me. Just in all honesty, they don't. I'm not sure how much I'm loved there at the old Disney parks.
I'm sure you are loved, but I don't. I mean, surely Bob Iger knows where Star Wars is in the trash right now. Does he get involved? Now, I'm not saying does he make it better or worse. Does he get involved? Because he's really been. You read about his autobiography and then you see it. He was hands off when it came to Star Wars. Now, of course, that was upcoming. That was stuff that was coming out while he was leaving, but he was very hands off on that one. Does he get involved with Lucasfilm? Does he start taking control, making changes there, or does he let it go? Same old, same old.
I think, like I've said multiple times, I think the game plan is going to be, hey, let's wait out until Indy 5 is out, out and done its box office run. Kathleen Kennedy steps down, and from there, I think that's when the real big changes start. I don't think she's fired because if she doesn't want to go, I don't think she's going anywhere. But I think that's a good, I just think she's done with it after that. Do you know what I mean? I think it just makes sense for her to be done with it.
I would love someone with somewhat common sense to come into that role, but I can't think of anyone who would do it. I mean, I'm honestly, I mean this in all sincerity, I think Ron Howard would be decent. And I've said this before, his response to people not liking Solo, he didn't blame fans. He didn't call them racist or anything. He's kind of an old school director. He just said, well, I thought we made a good movie. I'm sorry people didn't like it. And left it at that. That I thought was respectable. We have so much fan blaming going on these days. You don't like my movie, it's your fault. Which makes zero sense to me. I think we need someone with more common sense in that role of a studio head to say, hey, you know what? Instead of blaming fans for not liking our movie, why don't we just admit, yeah, it wasn't the best, and let's try better. I don't know. Dylan, any thoughts?
Well, her current contract, Kathleen Kennedy, is until 2024, which is,
Yeah,
as Ryan said, a year after the indie movie is supposed to come out. So
that's why I do not believe that she's retiring. Well, the rumor was what she's retiring at the end of this year. She's getting cut, and no, she's not.
I think I think there'll be changes, but I don't think any of the changes will affect anything that we want.
I agree with that. Let me ask you this question. Last question. Did you see the Indiana Jones 5 trailer?
I haven't yet. I haven't seen it. I've been freaking busy all day, and as soon as I got back to the car, I hopped in here. So I've heard people talking about it. I haven't seen it. I heard that all of the initial stuff about time travel, it's all true. Like we knew from the beginning, and that the de-aging looks decent, but it makes people feel like it's not an indie movie.
Yeah, I mean, and we all knew that because I think Harrison Ford came out with an interview going, "Oh wow, the de-aging that's in this is really awesome. It's freaky how they can do this now." And I was thinking, "Oh, is it going to have flashbacks?" But then later on, I heard about it being time travel. Now, here's the deal: I'm rooting for the movie. I am, because the fourth movie was so terrible. I want Indy to end on a good note. I mean, Last Crusade, they should have just left it alone after Last Crusade. There's no better
Seems like
ending.
a good name for the last one, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, here's the thing with me. Yes, I do love to see Indiana Jones back. I'd love to see him back. The reality is, Harrison Ford is what, 92?
95, actually.
How much?
95.
Oh, but he doesn't look a day over 70. Okay, so he's old, is the thing. And I get this. He can't do all the action. For me, it's a little too CGI heavy, like every movie is these days. I mean, the big green screen, the blue screen in the back. Well, it has that. What is it? That man,
The volume.
There's a movie that did that. It was like all green screens.
Oh, it's called Attack of the Clones.
Yeah. Yeah, but it has that fake, like you can tell all the backgrounds are fake in it. And I'm like, couldn't you shoot on location at least once? It takes me away, because I'm like, you know what, that stuff was neat back in the day when they couldn't go to a specific location and they just did it for that one scene. But now it's like a lot of that movie is just like, why couldn't they do I mean, you couldn't do the actual scene because Harrison Ford would break in half if he attempted to jump from one Jeep to the next, or whatever that action clip shows. I think that's Indiana Jones. It's really quick, but I think, oh, that's CGI because Harrison Ford can never do that these days. I get it, but give us some more. And why didn't Spielberg do this one? That's my other question.
He backed out like completely. Like he was supposed to direct it.
Okay, see, that worries me right there. That's the first red herring that worries me. Why did he back? Did he not like the story? Did he not like the direction? Because Spielberg, love him or hate him, he's not that good of a guy personally, I don't think, but he can make a good movie, and he knows how to make a balance between when to use CGI and when to use, real world techniques. Case in point, Jurassic Park. They had this awesome new technology that blew everyone away, but he didn't overuse it. And he did that on purpose. I thought it was a smart move. And it feels like they keep overusing CGI these days, and that's my only complaint. Of course, my other complaint is Steven Spielberg wasn't involved. When I heard about this and Steven Spielberg was involved, I was excited because I wanted to see him make his own indie. He and Harrison Ford teaming up, making a good Indiana Jones. I truly believe that, even though I was very negative on Star Wars, I was very positive about this. And then he backed out, and I was like, oh, crap. And I was waiting for Harrison Ford to back out, too. I thought that was what was going to happen when we got no news for felt like years.
Yeah.
And then finally, here it is about to come out, I guess. And I don't know. I hope for good things, but these days, Top Gun Maverick and Cobra Kai are the only two things that surprise me.
I think that everybody should be right to think it's going to be terrible, because it probably is going to be terrible with all the people involved and everything. I mean, James Mangold, the director, he's made good things before, but I just think that how could anything out of Lucasfilm be good? I don't know if you've seen Willow.
Oh, the TV show. Yeah, you
Yeah.
know what? I was gonna watch it, and then some jerk on RK Outpost just totally pissed in my soup about it, and I was like, oh, that sucks. And so now I'm more likely gonna skip it.
It's really bad. I would say, like, if you're actually interested in it, you're probably gonna absolutely hate it, but maybe give the first episode a try. I think it's awful. I'm not a big Willow fan or anything.
I
That
mean,
movie, like, I just, it was never like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like, it wasn't a big deal to me. The first episode, it's like a CW show. It's really bad.
oh, see, I like the movie was fun. It was a fun movie. We used to quote it. We saw it when we were teenagers. It was cool. It was funny to us. Val Kilmer as Mad Morgan is great in it. Great. I'm sad because he is not in the series, right?
Correct.
Okay, and that's a mistake because Top Gun showed us you can use Val Kilmer today, and you can make it good. That Val Kilmer scene was so good. It exceeded. I knew it was in there. I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know what they were going to talk about. I had my thoughts on it, but what they actually ended up doing, I thought that was perfect. That's the perfect way to write him. So you
Yeah,
could
but
do.
what else? I'll play devil's advocate. What else can you do with Val Kilmer other than make him be on on like death's door? Do you know what I mean?
Okay,
Like,
true,
I don't know.
true. He well, in the Willow series, he's older, obviously, so he can be an old king who maybe still has it, but he got injured. I mean, you got to work around the real life character of him. So you got to do something tragic.
And what they did with it, they initially make it sound like he's just a deadbeat dad, like he just took off, and
Not in
then
Willow.
yeah.
Oh.
Um, and then I think you find out a little bit later that, oh well, he went to actually do something, you know what I mean, that was important, but never came back. So it's probably assumed he, died or like
Well,
whatever. But
I hate I hate all this deconstructing the character that we've known and loved for years. I hate that Han Solo, who started off as a loner in New Hope, finally finds family and friends to stay with in Return of the Jedi, but they decided to just smash that for episode 7 and call him a deadbeat dad that couldn't handle the pressure and just left and now has to rebuild those connections again. Now that's terrible. Give us a new story. Give us a new arc. Don't have them repeat the same things. Why can't they live happily ever after? Why can't they grow as characters? I don't know. I don't know. It just disappoints me. You know.
it's the same thing time and time again, tried and true, and failing every single
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. But and it's like you said, another one of your videos about them talking about, for the first time ever, it's going to be focused around this type of character. Well, not for the first time ever.
Yes, can't wait. I know everybody that was a big fan of Willow in 1988 is really excited for the focal point being a lesbian relationship.
Yes. Yep. 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 But don't worry, because Kevin Smith's doing He-Man again, and it may be better this time. All right. So on that note, I want to thank my guest for coming on. I want to talk about a few things here. First off, Dylan is not going to give me a Twin Sons update. Folks, Dylan has been doing magic on Chris Nelson's channel by doing the history of the EU fandom, breaking it down by number of years. And we were talking about this prior to going live. Dylan, you said there were 2 more at least coming out soon?
2 more. One more, maybe.
How many more do you have in the chamber?
At least 1 more, because we have to do 2022.
But then you said you may do it. Oh, okay. Well, maybe I should shut up.
Well, so it'll be 2022 and beyond, I guess. But
okay.
So my problem with the series is, and I think Chris and I's problem is, like, we were involved in a lot of these things that happened, and like we remember a lot of it, but we don't remember everything. Like it's the incomplete history of the EU movement, because I think there's a lot of stuff that's in there that, like, even after filming, like, that we were just like, oh, we forgot about this. Like, case in point, in the last one, we forgot to talk about the KOTOR remake.
Well, yeah, but you always start the next video by talking about the things you missed.
But even still, I'm still thinking of things. It's like, oh yeah, that happened in 2015. I should have mentioned that.
So that's fine. Make another catch-up one, folks. I've seen each one of these hour-long, really fun.
Hour long. That's a
packed.
good joke.
Say what?
Hour long. That's a good joke.
Well,
Like,
2 hour, whatever. I've watched each one twice. I've listened to each one twice. I think it's an excellent series. I forgot about a lot of the stuff they're talking about. Like, there's a reason I'm not involved in this. I'd be sitting here going the whole time, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Was that what happened? Yeah, I totally forgot about half the things y'all talk about, but it's been so much fun. I seriously have listened to each one twice. Go to Chris Nelson's channel, check it out. They have at least one more, and then probably go back and do a What We Missed stream. And I don't know, because it's really good stuff. I truly believe it's some of the best stuff out there concerning the EU. It's excellent. Dylan spends more time with Chris than I do. I'm not jealous.
And as Chris said in the last one, feel free to do your own. Because again, we remember a lot of it, but we don't remember everything. And we weren't even involved in everything. So
well,
if you, especially in those early days, if you were
the
involved
thing
in
is,
stuff.
Oh, and I liked how you mentioned you dropped the Minox podcast. And they're on one. I was like, don't, Dylan, don't talk about that. Please don't.
The Minox nest is ancient history. No one knows about that, but people should. Honestly, go back to those Minox nests. It was just a great time. It was a simpler time.
It was. It was a simpler time, and it was a crazy time, too. Edward, Tristan, Tim and Tristan fighting all the time. Edward just making some random comment. He and Tristan's really love-hate relationship. They'd fall. I remember I walked in on a Skype on them. They were both asleep in front of the screens. They'd fallen asleep talking to each other. And I made a joke that they had their hands on the screen. And they didn't know that they did that or not. They're like, no, we didn't. No, we didn't. I said, yes, I walked in there. You had both your hands on the screen. And Tristan goes, I was probably trying to turn my computer off. Then he started believing me that he actually fell asleep with his hand on the screen, touching Edward. It's great stuff. But definitely check those out. Do you know when the next one's coming out, Dylan? Do you have an estimate in the next week, 2 weeks?
No idea, because we record them and like Chris puts them up the next morning. So I won't know until we record it.
Yeah, the first one that came out, I thought, oh no, how did I miss this? And then when the second one came out, I said, oh, I know what he's doing. He's pre-recording it. Got it.
See, we thought about doing them as live, but then we're just like, so this is no offense, people watching, not a lot of people who are like actually watch these live streams where, especially in like that first one, 2014, 2015, not all the people who are in the fandom now were around for that at the time. So we kind of be distracted by chat a little bit too much, we thought, and we wouldn't really be getting into the history of things. So we decided to pre-record them, and then that just became the standard. So like, I think we could probably do 2022 as a live stream, because again, everyone who is in these live stream has been around for 2022 basically, and could probably. But again, we don't know. I mean, we had like one thing for 2021, and then all of a sudden we remember 10 things.
Yeah,
and we kind of have a similar thing with 2022. But
it's great. It's excellent stuff. You should definitely check it out. Ryan, on the other hand, is not making that many videos on RK Live. I guess everything else, he's just, I don't know. The man is making tons of videos. Geeks and Gamers, Sports Wars, RK Outpost Live, Patriot Outpost, RK Outpost. There may be 17 more now. I don't know. How many more channels?
Well, every time I make a new one, the goal is to get more subscribers than Matt Wilkins. So that's always what we try to do. But yeah, we just hit 200,000 subscribers on my main channel, which is pretty crazy to think about. But hey, we keep rocking and rolling, and still, regardless of that, one of my favorite parts, and it has been of the past 2 years that we've been doing this, maybe 3 almost, is this stream right here. Not stream, but the video I get to do with you guys. So More Civilized Age continues to go strong. So I love it.
Always. Well, thanks for even giving us your time. Even when you're in the car driving to a mysterious location, folks, you don't know, but he's going to give someone a big check right now. His 200,000th subscriber is about to get a surprise, a live appearance by RK Outpost. You got to check this out. It's going to be big. I mean, we're talking like Mr. Beast big. And speaking of, I think Mr. Beast is getting worried because, you know, he only hit, 1 million? And you're 1/5 of the way there already.
Yeah, he's at like 110 million. He gave me a call. He said he wants to call a truce. You know, He wants to put an end to our war. So I said, I'll think about it. So ball's in my court. We'll see what I do.
We'll see what you do. We'll see what you do. Well, anyway, folks, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on A More Civilized Age.